Hello, friends, and we welcome you now to NFL Daily, brought to you by the Draft app. I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. Mitchell, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to talk some fantasy football, talk football in general. Crazy week in the NFL.
NFL confuses me now.
Very
it's
happy.
So confusing. We've got Monday Night Football highlights in what was a very confusing finish as well. We've got some fantasy rumors going on that we're going to talk about. Waiver wire. We will do another live fantasy, a daily fantasy draft on the Draft app. We'll talk some mock draft as well, a little NFL draft talk for you guys today as well.
Oh, never too early for a little NFL mock draft.
All right, so all that's coming up here. But first, though, we're going to throw over to Chat Sports Studio B with Jordan Giorgio, who's going to take you through the fantasy leaders from Week 4.
Thanks, guys. Let's go ahead and get started with our Week 4 top fantasy quarterbacks. At number 5, we have Russell Wilson. He is currently a top 3 quarterback, getting it done with legs on pace for 552 rushing yards. At number 4, we have Eli Manning, 4 interceptions in 4 games, on pace for 16 interceptions. It would be his 12th season with 14-plus interceptions. At number 3, Andy Dalton, in his last 5 games against the Browns, he's had 13 touchdowns and no interceptions. At number 2, Cam Newton, on pace for a career low in rushing attempts with only 22 this season so far. And at number 1, Deshaun Watson, leading all quarterbacks in rushing yards with 148. And moving on to running backs, Bilal Powell, in the last 2 seasons, the Jets are 3-0 when Powell carries the ball more than 20 times. Number 4, Lamar Miller, averaging 19.5 touches a game. At number 3, Ezekiel Elliott, averaging only 3.6 yards per carry, which is 1.5 yards less than last season. At number 2, Todd Gurley. He's had 7 touchdowns this season so far and only 6 total last season. And number 1, Le'Veon Bell. He is leading all running backs in rushing attempts with 87. Moving on to wide receivers, Tyrell Williams, with first 100-yard receiving game since Week 11. At number 4, Michael Thomas, 85-plus receiving yards in 5 of his last 6 games. How about that for some consistency? At number 3, Jordy Nelson leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns with 5 and also last year with 14. Number 2, Devin Funchess. He has had 19 targets in the last 2 games while being a safety blanket for Cam Newton since Greg Olsen's absence. At number 1, DeAndre Hopkins, leading the NFL in targets with 49 and is on pace for 196. You know, targets mean opportunities. More opportunities mean more fantasy points. And moving on to tight ends, Charles Clay, as a top 4 tight end, he has been a top 7 3 of 4 weeks with consistent tight ends. Hard to find. Feel confident with this guy in your lineup. And number 4, A.J. Derby has had an impressive one-handed catch this week, but it seemed to be all luck. Probably would not pick for your waiver wire. At number 3, Cameron Brate, a touchdown in back-to-back games. Keep an eye on him because remember he led tight ends last season with 8 touchdowns. And number 2, Travis Kelce, who played against the Washington Redskins last night, who has given up the most receiving yards to tight ends this season. Easy to say, start your tight ends against the Redskins. And at number 1, Tyler Kroft. He is only playing because Tyler Eifert is hurt, but the Browns are absolutely terrible against tight ends, so I would not pick him up on your waiver wire. That is all I have for you guys today with your top fantasy stats. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Jordan Giorgio. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Jordan. So that was the good of Week 4 in fantasy football. Let's talk about some of the bad, namely the injuries that happened this week. There were several notable ones, both for fantasy purposes and for overarching NFL as well. We start here with Marcus Mariota and his hamstring injury. He is listed as day-to-day. The Titans did sign Brandon Weeden.
Oh, I can't believe Brandon Whedon's still in the league. What a joke.
Oh, that's too funny. But it's only day-to-day, so if he misses time, maybe it'll only be a week. So it's on here. It's number 5, but it's not a full-on panic situation yet in Tennessee.
Yeah, from what I've read, I think he's going to be okay to go, and I encourage people to go over to chatsports.com and read an article that I wrote about Marcus Mariota and a few other players and their injuries. So go there, check it out. But I think he's going to be okay, and ultimately the Titans still want to run the ball. So look for Murray and Derrick Henry to really get a lot of carries this week.
All right, Ty Montgomery is number 4. He's dealing with what he called multiple broken ribs, but he says he wants to play this week, which kind of sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine anybody saying like, oh yeah, sure, I want to get tackled with broken ribs. Like, that does not feel good. I can't imagine it does, but apparently he's a tough guy. I just don't really see anybody being effective with broken ribs.
All right, number 3 then is one Derek Carr, and this is lesser for fantasy, maybe more so important for real-life football. Back fracture, supposed to miss 2 to 6 weeks.
That hurts me. We saw how much the Raiders missed Derek Carr last season in the playoffs, and this Raiders team right now is just not clicking. Marshawn Lynch kind of looks like he retired last year. And, yeah, Michael Crabtree is not on the field. Amari Cooper is dropping everything that comes near him. This Raiders team needs to figure it out, and now missing Carr for 2 to 6 weeks. That's ugly.
And then number 2, Chris Carson, who had emerged as the go-to Seattle halfback with Eddie Lacy and Thomas Rawls taking turns as inactives, and now he's done for what there's a chance he comes back this year, but he's going to IR. I'd be surprised if he returned.
Yeah, I'd be surprised, and even if he does return, when you see players that suffer these kind of injuries, it's really hard for them to stay in game shape, and then they get another injury later on. But really sad to see Carson kind of emerge as the starter. It's unfortunate to see that, and as soon as he went down, you saw Russell Wilson go down on one knee, and kind of you could just see that ultimately he was hurting right away.
It's a broken leg, a leg fracture, so again, folks, outside chance he plays. If you have an IR spot on your fantasy roster that you're not using, perfect spot. But if you don't have IR or you have someone more important,
yeah, you got to drop him.
It's time to drop him. And then someone that, unless you're in a dynasty league, go ahead and drop. Unfortunately, Dalvin Cook, the Vikings halfback, is out for the year with we were told is almost a completely torn ACL.
Yeah, I'm pouring one out for Dalvin Cook. For somebody who's personally torn their ACL, it's a tough injury to overcome, but he's a way better athlete than me, so I'm sure he'll bounce back and he'll be good. I mean, it's really sad to see, though. Dude was having an unbelievable year.
Mm-hmm. All right, so those are your notable injuries for fantasy and the NFL purposes here. So we'll head now to some Monday Night Football highlights. This was kind of a slow starting game here. Redskins, Eagles, here we start things in the first quarter. Kirk Cousins, though, he will drop back to pass, go deep downfield. Terrell Pryor catches it over Marcus Peters. 7-0 Redskins up. Now it's 10-0. 2-minute warning. Alex Smith will find Travis Kelce for the score. It's 10-7. Redskins at the half. Third quarter, though, the Chiefs will take the lead on an Alex Smith keeper. Perfectly designed read option. And the Chiefs are now up here. Redskins, though, they would respond. Cousins finds Vernon Davis. He's going to weave and then zig and zag his way all through all kinds of defenders as players go down. Davis ends up picking up 69 yards on this play. Got him inside the 10-yard line. That set this up on second and goal play action. Kirk Cousins goes to Ryan Grant for the score, 17-14. Now tied at 20. All right, 42 seconds left. Smith flushed out of the pocket, finds Albert Wilson way downfield for a huge gain, 37 yards to the Redskins' 34-yard line. So then with 8 seconds left, out comes Harrison Butker, the rookie who was on the Panthers practice squad. He hits the game-winning field goal. 4 seconds left. There's time for a miracle. It's 23-20. Okay, the Redskins going to try and make something happen here. Bad throw from Jamison Crowder to Kirk, who fumbles it. Then Jordan Reed gets it, and Chris Thompson can't recover it. And Justin Houston then scoops and scores for what ends up being the game-winning TD. Or not the game-winning TD, the spread-covering TD. A meaningless touchdown covers the spread for the Chiefs, and it swung multiple fantasy games because of the Chiefs' defensive touchdown. It was confusion as to who had the fumble. A meaningless score at the end of the game impacted a lot of stuff going on outside of the actual result in the win-loss column.
See, when stuff like that happens, it makes me wonder, is the NFL fixed? Because I just love seeing that kind of stuff. And man, what a great game, though. I mean, like you said, slow to start, picked up at the end. The one guy, Vernon Davis, still getting it done, 69-yard touchdown. It's almost like Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis switched bodies. I mean, Jordan Reed was barely on the field, only played 21 of 60 snaps, but Chiefs 4-0, the only undefeated team left, and I think they are the clear best team in the NFL.
Well, let's get to a reaction here, folks. What was your reaction to that final play of Monday Night Football? Give us a love if it won you your fantasy matchup, or if it covered the spread for you. A wow face if you're just coming away with, wow, what a terrible play because it didn't end up impacting you in any particular way. A ha if you thought it was just a hilarious play that was just too funny not to laugh at. And then angry face if it did end up costing you guys a win.
Oh, man, I don't know. For me, it's easily the hilarious face. I was laughing so hard because I know just plays like that can literally swing an entire week for people. And I can only imagine somebody sitting there watching and they're like, oh, man, sweet, I won. I'm up 5 points.
Someone's got the flower, and I don't know what that is. It's still confusing me. We see it on the bottom of your screen. You'll see a little flower emoji. I don't know what it comes from. It's definitely something on the mobile app. I don't understand it. I don't have that feature. I see a couple of crying faces. I think that also counts as costing me a win. I see mostly hilarious and ha-ha faces there. I am angry. I had the Redskins +7. I thought, oh, even if they lose, they've covered the spread. And then that garbage time stuff happens, and it cost me some spread points there. I was very upset by that.
I'm sorry, buddy.
I was very, very upset here. All right, folks, we're going to get to some more fantasy talk here in just a little bit. But first, got a little NFL mock draft for you. We're going to start here with the top 5, do a live draft on the Play Draft app. Then we'll come back later on and finish out the mock draft.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it's never too early to start talking NFL mock draft. I know you do.
I do.
A little humble brag, actually.
Yeah.
Before we did this, you told me you finished, 12th in the world last year?
Tied for 12th in mock draft accuracy.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
No, just brush it off a little bit.
Brush it off a little bit, yeah.
Good for you. All right, man. Let's go to the first pick. You have the Browns taking quarterback Sam Darnold of USC. I'm a little surprised, but I want to hear why.
So first off, no one yell at me about the order. This is based on the current NFL draft order if the season ended today. So no yelling about, oh, the Bills are drafting really late. That's not going to happen. Or, oh, the Bengals are way too low or whatever. The Seahawks are way too low. Like, we're focusing on this is how the draft order is. It's just the fact right now. Focus on the players and the team needs involved. That's what we're focused on here. With Sam Darnold, if the Browns are picking first overall, as much as I do like DeShone Kizer, that means he probably didn't play that well this year. And in that case, you're looking at what is a pretty good quarterback class. I wasn't that high on Darnold entering this year. I was the guy trying to pump the brakes on Hatcher a little bit. Slow motion. And he's been plagued by turnovers this year. Some buzz he could return to USC next season. But the way I look at it right now with Sam Darnold, the leadership is there. NFL scouts are still very high on him. The arm strength, accuracy, it's all there. He's got all the pieces. I don't know if he has the upside of the best quarterback in this draft class, but I think he's one of the safer picks. I think he has the ability to be a franchise quarterback. And if the Browns are stuck here at number 1, they'll either A, just take Darnold and go with the quarterback, or they'll trade it and trade down and it'll still end up being Darnold.
Sweet.
If he comes out, there's been a little bit of buzz lately that he might try and pull the Andrew Luck and stay another year.
He's definitely not Andrew Luck, but we're going to go to pick number 2, 49ers. You have them selecting Josh Rosen, quarterback, UCLA.
Pretty good chance here that Kirk Cousins goes to the Niners and then Carlos Hyde leaves and they end up going with somebody else who we'll get to in a minute here. But for the time being, I'm projecting that we'll pretend that Kirk Cousins doesn't go to the Niners quite yet. Rosen has all of the physical tools. In terms of the upside of this year's quarterback class, Rosen has some of the best upside. Like he has everything you look for in a classic pocket passer. He's got the accuracy, especially this year. He's improved that. The arm strength, the awareness. There had been some worries earlier, especially the past couple of years, about his maturity and his leadership. That seems to have dissipated this year. It seems like he's matured after that shoulder injury, which, by the way, will be a medical concern that has to check out because a quarterback with a shoulder injury, that's a huge red flag. But if the medical checks out and if the attitude side of things check out, Rosen has the tools to live up to his chosen Rosen nickname.
Ah, nice. Well, now we're going to go to pick number 3, which is the New York Giants, Saquon Barkley, who, I don't know, he is my front runner for the Heisman and has looked really good.
Look, normally I'm not a big fan of taking a halfback early. I made the exception for Fournette last year and Zeke to an extent the year before that. Barkley's better right now. Now that can change. Again, folks, all these prospect grades can and will change throughout the year. If, for example, Barkley has 20 fumbles from here on out, oh, that's a pretty big red flag. He's going to plummet or if he tears his ACL, kind of like the Jalen Smith deal. But with the Giants, they need a halfback. Paul Perkins is not getting the job done. Orleans Dark was not getting the job done. Shane Vereen's a scat back. I kind of like Wayne Gallman, but he's not better than Barkley, and I think he's kind of more of a change of pace back anyway, as a backup.
Totally
agree. Barkley gives them that actual 3-down back they have lacked for several years now. The offensive line is still a major concern. I kind of think the front office doesn't value offensive line as much as they should, and Barkley, I think, is a little bit better player than some of the offensive tackles in this year's class, which, by the way, is a much better class as things stand right now than the awful class last year.
Cool. Next pick is at number 4, the Los Angeles Chargers, Derwin James. And in your notes, you say, you love him. Tell me why.
I love Derwin James so much. He's my favorite defensive prospect in this year's class as things stand right now. He's a versatile playmaker. So 2 giant checkboxes right there. He will make plays in the backfield. Still needs to work on being a better with better ball skills, but he'll break up enough passes. He'll make some interceptions. He can play any defensive back spot. I have him profiled as a safety right now. I think he'd be a perfect fit with the Chargers, who haven't truly replaced Eric Weddle. Safety play this year has been kind of iffy. It's not terrible, but they don't have a true impact guy in that back two, in that back end of the secondary. Derwin James can be that guy. I think he's going to be a top 10 pick in this year's class as long as he stays healthy. He had the injury last year that cost him much of his season. I think maybe kind of limited his growth just a little bit. But Derwin James has all the upside you look for in a true playmaking secondary guy. Safeties don't often go that high. James is one of the exceptions.
Awesome. Next is pick number 5, the Colts. Maybe my favorite pick because the Colts need some line play, and Connor Williams is the guy. So tell me why you like him.
I thought about going edge rusher because the Colts, the front office likes edge rushers, but Connor Williams here I think is a classic left tackle prospect. I loved him last year. He wasn't eligible. He was a true sophomore. Had he been eligible to come out in the draft, he actually would have been my highest rated tackle prospect in last year's class. I've liked Connor Williams since he started at Texas. He was a true freshman starter for Texas, which is super rare to see at Texas and at left tackle. This allows him to protect Luck. He's banged up right now. He's dealing with a knee injury that could knock him down a little bit, and he had a little bit of struggles early this year. But this is also, believe it or not, the 3rd year he's been at Texas and the 3rd new scheme he's had.
Wow.
So he's gone through a lot, but I think that will be a positive in NFL teams. They go, okay, this guy can handle a lot of different things thrown at him. That will benefit him going forward. I think he's the best tackle prospect right now. Hint, as we move through more and more of these, as we get to the outside the top 5 later on in the show, you're going to see several offensive line prospects.
Pick number 6 is to the Cincinnati. Oh,
we're going to come back to 6 later on here. We're going to break it up here a little bit for you guys here. So first off, we want to weigh in who is the best NFL draft prospect right now from your guys' opinion. I love to see what you guys think here. For me, and I never thought I'd see the day where I actually say this, it might be Saquon Barkley, a halfback, which is very rare, but he's doing things on the field that I don't know how he does them. Like, it's not just the way he breaks tackles. This year he's shown an unbelievable stop-start ability. Like, the sudden change of direction and getting it back up to top speed so fast is unbelievable.
Yeah, I would say from a size speed standpoint, I mean, the man's legs are gigantic, and he was deadlifting like something, or power cleaning, like 500 pounds in the offseason, like on some videos. The guy is unbelievable. He can catch. He apparently can throw touchdowns too. So for me, it's Barkley as well, but we want to hear what you guys have to say.
He's got the thick lower body that I like to see in halfbacks, and he still has the speed to go along with it.
Oh,
and that's impressive.
The acceleration too.
Mm-hmm. All right, folks, so we will come back here in a little bit to finish up the mock draft, and then near the end of the show, we'll go through it all again one more time. But before we get to that, we're going to have a little live draft here on the Play Draft app here. So stay tuned with us. We're going to go through me, Mitchell, Harris, and producer Brett Scott, friend of the show. We're going to have another live draft here. Also, I lost last week, so I have to eat some hot sauce. So don't go anywhere. I'm not looking forward to it. All right, friends, it is time for another draft here, brought to you by the Draft app. Once again, I'm Tom Downey. Alongside me is Mitchell Renz. Friends of the show, Brett Scott and Harris will be joining us with these drafts here. Unfortunately, Mitchell, I came in last place again.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't even know if you can say unfortunately, because
screw you, man.
I am so looking forward to this. We've been talking about this all week, and I'm more excited for you to eat this hot sauce because this smells awful.
Honestly, I'm not convinced that this hot sauce isn't like rancid. Like, I'm pretty sure it's gone bad.
It's either that or there might be a few pills in here, so be careful.
Wait, a few what in there?
Here we go.
You spiked my hot sauce, Mitchell? All right. So what's the name of this again here?
This is just XXX hot sauce made with habanero peppers, fresh from outside.
And, all right. I have my water here as well here, so let's just do it here as our draft starts in about 10 seconds.
Bottoms up.
Oh my God, it's so bad. Woo! Oh, I hate that.
I'm telling you,
all right,
it's
draft time.
not good.
Mitchell, you're on the clock here. I'm going to drink some water.
Oh, 24 seconds. I'm definitely not going to take a hot pick here after you just did that. So I'm
my
go
God.
I'm
going to thick too.
Oh, that's definitely what she said. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think it's a pretty safe pick at quarterback. It's been working for Harris taking quarterbacks first overall, so I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers against a weak Dallas defense.
I don't feel good. This is really bad. There was a lot of pepper in there. There's a single tear flowing down my eye right now, and it coated my tongue, so it's not really going away. So it's really hot right now. And this is not fun. I don't like losing. So I'm on the clock now. Look, I got it wrong last week. I'm going to, don't you dare take my water, you monster. I'm going to redeem myself this week. Last week I messed up by not taking this guy. I'm going to do it though. Lev Bell with my first pick in first round, number 3 overall. I'm having a really tough time talking here, folks.
I'm having a hard time controlling myself.
I hate hot sauce.
I know. Oh, well, I think it's funny because last week you're like, you know what? I'm going to go with a guy who's really safe.
Yeah.
Who always plays well, Antonio Brown, and just throws up 5 points.
I hate everything.
Oh, Lev Bell. You know who
He
did?
was so bad.
You know who did take Lev Bell? Me.
Yeah, and that's why he ended up winning there. All right, producer Brett Scott just took Ezekiel Elliott with his first-round pick, and then he has a turn here.
And goes with Jordy.
Oh my God, my saliva's hot.
That's what I was going to take. I was going to do the nice little Jordy
right.
stack, but it just could not work out.
Now I got to think here. Because I want another halfback, because I'm tired of not getting good halfbacks. But I don't love Gurley against Seattle, and I don't love Kareem Hunt against Houston. You know, I'm just going to go Gurley. I'm just going to take Tucker because I know he's going to get work.
He's going to get work. He's got 7 touchdowns, and any time that you can do something like that, I mean, he's been so good. I mean, I don't blame you for taking him, but
we're going to go. I went RB, and there goes Kareem Hunt. So that makes me feel better about my pick then. So now you are at the turn.
Yeah, I'm at the turn, and now I don't really know who exactly to roll out there. There's a few options that I like. There's a few options I don't like. So I think it's a little tough. But if there's one guy, or if there's been one team that's really been struggling,
I like that pick.
It's
Mike Evans.
I mean, the Patriots right now are giving up 1,300 yards through the air 1,300 yards through the air.
If I didn't go Gurley, I was going to go Evans at receiver. So I like that pick quite a bit.
Well, I appreciate that. And now that I'm looking at it, going through, I don't really know exactly who to take here. So
you got 8 seconds.
I'm going to go Gronk. I think it's a safe tight end pick.
That.
He's been a monster. Tampa Bay has a lot of issues right now in that secondary with injuries.
Stole my idea. I was going to take Gronk.
I'm going to go Gronk, and I'm going to wait a little while on running back because everybody else kind of took a running back, and if I got to wait,
all right,
I think I'll be all right.
Well, Harris just took Stephon Diggs, which I thought was pretty interesting here. So I'm going to go a little bit different direction here. Last time he played against the Packers, he torched them. Dez Bryant, there's no one that can cover him on that team. I'm going Dez. This is going to be a big Dez Bryant week.
You're not worried about the fact that Dez has seen 40 targets and only has 16 catches this year?
I go back to last week. He had like 13 targets. Only 7 of them were catchable balls, though. So a lot of times Dak is missing him or it's just a throwaway in the area of Dez Bryant. So my expectation would be that he gets a lot of targets. He converts on a few more. I'm thinking this could be a 7 for 120 and a TD game for Dez Bryant. No one on that Packers roster can cover him. Like, he was pretty good against Trumaine Johnson. Now he's got a much better matchup.
No, I definitely don't disagree with that. I mean, if we can get Dez one-on-one with those Packers corners, I mean, Dez is going to win that matchup a lot of times.
Antonio Brown and then Bilal Powell goes off the board here.
Bilal Powell.
Bilal Powell.
Huge week last week. I mean, who would have thought? 75-yard touchdown after he tripped and fell.
Oh, it's my pick. A.J. Green then is my selection here. I'm going to fill out my wide receiver core. So Green and Dez.
Green played well, and we finally got some targets. I definitely don't mind it.
Good Bills defense.
Who's on the clock? Harris?
Harris just took Shady.
Shady?
Quality pick there.
I mean, you can't really go wrong with Shady. So now I'm looking at, I got to go 2 running backs back-to-back. And I'll be honest, I'm not really crazy about any of the options here.
My mouth still hurts.
Man, you're struggling.
This is a struggle fest. But no, it's not a struggle fest.
Let's hear it.
Doing these drafts.
Dude, it's easy.
Hey, these drafts on the draft app, head to draft.com/chatsports to get yours today. You'll get a free $3 entry when you sign up. These drafts take minutes to complete, as you guys can see here.
Super easy. I went to Marco Murray, and I think it's a little bit of a risky call, but they're playing the Dolphins. Dolphins have been struggling, and Mariota might miss the game, and that might mean they might lean on Murray a little bit more.
Matt Castle's awful. They also, by the way, signed Brandon Weeden because apparently Brandon Weeden and Matt Castle are quality quarterbacks that you want on an NFL roster, I guess.
And I'm going to go Leonard Fournette. He's been getting some work, and he's going up against Steelers. Yes, Steelers have a pretty good linebacker crew, but in this case, I was not crazy about any of the other running backs, and he's been getting the work, so I'm going to go Fournette.
Odell Beckham goes off the board. I think that's a pretty good pick there, especially for round 5. So now I'm looking at 2 quarterbacks here. I'm looking at Dak Prescott against the Packers with a pretty poor secondary, and Jameis Winston against a really bad secondary that just made Cam Newton look great in this week. I'm going Jameis Winston. I think producer Brett Scott behind the scenes is very excited here. He's a Cowboys fan, so he got his man in Dak Prescott. My team here quickly, real fast, Jameis Winston, Lev Bell, Todd Gurley, Dez Bryant, and then A.J. Green. I'm projected to finish second this week, although we'll see if that actually ends up being the case, given my recent run of issues.
I am projected to finish dead last, which is fine with me. I don't go off projections, and I mean, I haven't finished in last yet. I mean,
I finished twice. I am rapidly approaching fantasy reaper status here.
Yeah, no.
I'm getting real close, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Who's finished first the most? Harris?
Harris, I think twice.
He's not even here.
Yeah, he's not even here.
What a joke.
All right, folks, that will do it for the draft here. We're going to come back here in just a little bit and finish up that actual NFL mock draft we did. Again, this is draft.com/chatsports. A free $3 entry when you sign up. It's a fantastic app.
Oh, it's
so easy to use.
I mean, we just did that really quick, simple, and you even did it while being under distress. So.
Yeah, under distress is a good way of putting it. I'm filing a complaint for this week's league if I don't win, even though I feel like that'll be rejected swiftly.
Yeah, probably.
All right, folks, draft.com/chatsports. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Hello, friends. We will go ahead and start here with Joe Roberts. We'll jump right into our guest here segment. Then we'll get to the NFL draft. So, Mitchell, you know Joe. I will let you handle this here so it's not super awkward.
Hey, Joe. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for joining us. The last time you and I talked was in Toronto at the Fantasy Football Convention. And, man, it's good to have you on here. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got started, and, man, plug your stuff.
Well, thanks for having me on here. One thing that I really like to talk about is my podcast. That's what's really kind of getting traction right now. Originally, it started off with my Instagram. I was selling a custom fantasy frame. It was like a sports reward type thing. It really wasn't my thing. I kind of want to kind of interact with people. I kind of got sick of some of the podcasts, a lot of fluff. So I kind of created a podcast with minimal, or I call no fluff, right? So we kind of minimized the commercial, straight to the point, right to that information, shorter amount of time. If you guys notice how people are right now, shorter attention spans. We want to get that quick information right away. People are busy. Your time is valuable. So we get a podcast out packed with information in a short amount of time. And again, I've got the biggest Instagram account at Fantasy Football Counselor on Instagram in regards to followers. And another thing that differentiates me, and I'm just kind of introducing myself, is I like to really interact with people. Always stay humble. Always stay true to the fans and the fan base, and interact with your listeners. That's very crucial.
No, man, I totally agree, and I think it's amazing, the fantasy football community that I know it is. I mean, when you can reach out to people like yourself, and you're always willing to help out, somebody like us, and always willing to come on your show, because like you said, time is the most valuable thing. So thank you again, but I mean, the real reason why we're on here is talk a little bit of fantasy football. But if you guys don't follow Joe, please follow him on Instagram at Fantasy Football Counselor. Great follow for sure. So, Joe, like I said, we're here to talk some fantasy football rumors. The first one that I want to talk to you about is Latavius Murray, the top waiver wire pick this week.
I guess he has to be, just based on volume alone. I mean, there's nobody else that's going to come in there and steal those carries away from him. If you look at his numbers last year, not the greatest in PPR, but he is a touchdown machine. Now, he isn't 100%, so you want to be careful when you're picking up Latavius Murray. I think he's still got some nagging injuries that are bothering him. He has come out and admitted that he is not 100%. But based on sheer volume, you got to pick him up. Now, you got to understand they are going to be throwing that ball a lot now with Thielen and Diggs. But, I mean, you got to pick him up. There's other guys, Kamara, other guys that you could pick up, but they're kind of still buried in a bit of a committee. So they're still going to do well, but based on volume, I mean, you can't ignore Latavius Murray off the waiver this week.
No, and I totally agree. I will say, though, Murray, to me, scares me a little bit. I don't think he is the most talented running back, and I think he kind of was able to be a star behind that Oakland Raiders offensive line, but I also agree with you. I think he is probably the top waiver wire ad this week. Next fantasy rumor is something that I actually wrote about earlier in the week, and it's, do you think Andrew Luck's going to play before November? I mean, we've kind of heard stories saying that he might be out until November. So what do you think about Andrew Luck?
I'm a big Andrew Luck fan. I'm actually a Colts fan, so he's on a lot of my teams. He's on the bench. I mean, I'm really disappointed with what the Colts did. They didn't really let the fantasy community know about his injury. From what I'm hearing, he might get started practicing very soon. I don't know. I think he's out for another 2 weeks, I would say. But again, you got to give him another 2 weeks to probably get in that groove. We already know Andrew Luck. If you studied and watch his games, he's a bit of a slow starter. First quarter, he's not going, and he comes back and saves the game. So, I mean, Andrew Luck not really exciting me at all this year, but he could come back strong if you could utilize him during playoff time.
No, and I totally agree. I mean, so let's say I have Andrew Luck or maybe a guy like Sam Bradford. I have to pick between one of the two. Who would I keep on my roster?
I mean, someone you can use now. It depends on who else you have. I mean, if you got someone, I mean, there's tons of talent coming out of the woodwork here. You got Watson, you got Jared Goff, guys you can pick up. Even Bortles having some good games. So, I mean, I'm always going to start someone else right now. Maybe start Bradford, but if you have that room on the bench, worth a stash for Andrew Luck if you have that room, you know?
No, man, totally agree. I mean, when you have an upside, a guy like Luck, he's definitely worth keeping on your roster. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that can put up the points that he can put up.
I've got Luck in a lot of leagues, so hopefully he does come back soon.
Yeah, fingers crossed there. All right, buddy.
Hopefully.
Last rumor I got for you is a guy who you love, and I know he kind of self-endorses you, Martavis Bryant. What do I do with him? Do I keep him? Do I trade him? Do I cut him? I don't know what to do with him, man. He's had one good game. Let me hear your point.
I mean, there's so much inconsistency with the Steelers. We saw that this week with Antonio Brown getting frustrated, not getting the ball, being limited to 37 yards. So I don't think it's an ability thing with Martavis. The talent is there. The speed is there. I think he's in the best shape of his life. Meeting with him, I mean, I met with him a couple of years ago. He was endorsing my brand back then. So I asked him to come back this year. I'm very grateful to have him. And there's different physiology to him. Mentally, physically, this guy's ready to go. He's just got to get the ball. He is due for a breakout. You saw Big Ben throw the ball to him down the field. Just hasn't been able to connect with Martavis. I don't know whether it's a timing thing or whether it's like he hasn't been on the field thing. I don't know what's going on with the Steelers. Guys like Juju and Jesse James getting that volume when Martavis should be getting it. It's a big mess over there. Hopefully they start getting in sync, but I would definitely stash him on your bench. Now, he's definitely worth a start. Now, if you have a better player, like I got him and Rashard Matthews, I've been kind of bouncing back and forth. Both of them ended up getting 7 points last week. Not that exciting, but I mean, it's kind of boom or bust for him, but I think he's going to start connecting with Big Ben. He can only go up right now.
I agree. I mean, with that kind of upside, I mean, Martavis has upside that a lot of wide receivers just simply don't have, and from a physical standpoint, he actually profiles kind of close to Randy Moss, which a lot of people don't really realize. So, but we know the Steelers play better at home, especially Ben Roethlisberger. Is he the kind of guy where you normally just target him to play at home and kind of sit him on the bench? Would that be good advice, or?
I mean, just start Martavis whenever you can. That's all I'm going to say. I just think that. Yeah, that's it. I mean, like I said, unless you have a better option, that I go back, and that's one thing I've created. I'm going to give you guys and your listeners a little bit of value here. I created the Cuddy system, and the book is coming soon. It's trademarked. Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y, the Cuddy Edge. And what it simply stands for, and I'm telling you, this is proven, it's working, and I'm dominating. I'm 4-0 in all my leagues. I'm with some guys in leagues that are actually really, really good. These guys are legit, really good players, including the Instagram Experts League, where I have all the top followers. So simply put, Cuddy, consistency, upside, durability, depth, and youth. You run this through your head before a draft, and make sure your players follow that criteria, and you're going to have a better roster.
No, I mean, it definitely makes sense, and I like the name Cuddy. I mean, it's definitely pretty clever, but I mean, I'll definitely give you a lot of credit for, when we were in Toronto, you drafted Kareem Hunt way higher than everybody would have thought, and man, you're looking like a pretty smart guy now sitting back there, but.
And Gurley. I've got Gurley on all my teams, and Michael Thomas. These are guys I believe that, and that all part of the Cuddy system, right? You're looking at the depth chart. That's something I really look at. Make sure they're not buried in a committee. Guys like Joe Mixon, great talent, but still, you guys still got Bernard Hill, still taking a little bit of that volume. I understand that offensive coordinator saying more Joe Mixon, but I was a little hesitant on Mixon. I was more Kareem Hunt. I saw that. Even with Spencer Ware there, I saw Kareem Hunt emerging. I had that feeling. A lot of it is gut too, right?
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, and you were totally right on that. And hey, if anybody doesn't follow Joe, man, you guys got to get on your Instagram game. Go follow him, Fantasy Football Counselor, and his podcast. Like he said, no fluff whatsoever. Joe's going to give it to you straight, whether you like it or not, and that's why I love him. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it. Stay in touch, and follow him on Twitter at FantasyFFCounselor.
FF Counselor 1. One more thing. Kareem Hunt going to be on the show. He's also endorsing the brand this year. Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time on the Fantasy Football Counselor podcast. DM me at Fantasy Football Counselor if you don't know how to subscribe. You got to get in the podcasting world and start listening. There's a lot of content to absorb. Kareem Hunt on the show. Can't wait.
Thanks again, buddy.
Thanks, Joe. All right. I think we'll do a little own self-plug in here. We're going to be recording our fantasy podcast tonight.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. Fantasy Football Rumors.
Yeah, we'll get that out. It'll take a little bit for it to get posted, but if you guys follow us on Twitter, at WhatGoingDoney, at MitchellRenz365, we'll get it tweeted out as soon as it's up.
Yes, we will. And I can't wait, man. A lot of rumors, a lot of stuff to cover.
Yes,
man, fantasy football talk all the time.
Sounds good. How about some draft talk then?
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
Draft talk all the time.
This is my stuff here.
So where we left off was pick number 6.
And so let's go ahead and
recap.
For anyone that missed, we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got this in groups of 4 going forward here. For those of you that anyone missed it here, again, number 1 was Sam Darnold. Number 2 was Josh Rosen. Number 3 was Saquon Barkley. And then 4 was Derwin James.
And now we're going to move into, and number 5 was the Colts, Connor Williams, offensive tackle. But now we're going to go into pick number 6.
The new ones.
The new guys, Bengals, Orlando Brown. Pick number 7 for the Bears is Arden Key. Number 8, Harold Landry. Number 9, Christian Wilkins. Number 10 is Josh Allen, quarterback out of Wyoming. Seahawks, pick 11, Quentin Nelson, offensive guard from Notre Dame. Pick number 12 is Minka Fitzpatrick.
That's the Browns pick from the Texans, by the way, from the Deshaun Watson trade.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jaguars pick 13, Lamar Jackson. Oh, man, Harris will like that one.
We'll go through this all once, then we'll come back and we'll talk some more about each player.
Cowboys, Bradley Chubb from NC State. Jets then will get pick number 15, Mason Rudolph. The Saints will get Sam Hubbard at 16, and then Malik Jefferson at 17 to the Raiders. Tavares McFadden, number 18 to the Vikings. Christian Kirk, wide receiver for the Redskins at 19. Mike McGlinchey for the Buccaneers at 20.
I did not give you the pronunciation guide in advance.
Well, I
That's my fault.
appreciate that. No worries, buddy. Pick number 21 is Jair Alexander. Pick 22 to the Patriots. Wow, that's a lot higher than what they're used to seeing. Jerome Baker.
A reminder, folks, this is based on the current standings and current draft order. No adding me in the comment section about, oh, the Patriots are going to finish higher than that. Oh, the Rams won't finish that high. If it's the season end today, this is how the draft order would be. So that's the order.
Trey Adams at 23 to the Rams. Tremaine Edmonds to the Steelers at 24. Darius Geis, running back out of LSU at 25 to the Eagles. 26 is Maurice Hurst to the Lions. Martinez Rankin, offensive tackle, to the Panthers. Vita V, maybe my favorite name in the draft, to the Broncos, 28. 29 is Cortland Sutton. 30 is Calvin Ridley. 31 is Marcus Allen, PSU. We are. And pick 32 is Dorrance Armstrong, Kansas.
So that was the mock draft here. We'll go back. We'll talk about all the players that we just had as well. That was a little faster run through. Now we'll do it a little bit slower. So we'll start there. We talked about the top 4 already, so we'll jump into the top 5 as well. I look at a guy like Orlando Brown. This is a mountain of a man, quite literally. He is 6'8", 360 pounds, and he's actually good in pass protection.
My God.
That's
Maybe
an unreal combo.
Basketball court.
I mean, that dude is massive. So I'm a little concerned about if he can truly handle speed. He hasn't faced a ton of it at Oklahoma, but I think he has the ability. The Bengals, we know they need offensive tackle up. Their tackles right now are not getting the job done. Jake Fisher and then Cedric Abuya from Texas A&M, their former first-round pick. They spent 2 early picks on those guys. They have not panned out yet. I think they have to target offensive line early. If they're picking this early, I think that puts them in good position to do so.
And what about number 7 for the Bears, Arden Key?
It's nowhere near as good of a pass rushing class as it was last year. There is no Myles Garrett this year. The depth isn't the same either, but Arden Key is the top guy. I think he's more of a 3-4 outside linebacker. If you're the Bears and you get a chance to pair Arden Key with Leonard Floyd as your 1-2 combo at pass rusher, how can you pass that up? I mean, the Bears need more impact guys on the defensive end. Arden Key can be that impact guy. Some concern about his little break from football earlier this year. That's going to be highly scrutinized come the pre-draft process. But the talent is there. I think he's the top edge guy in this year's class. Depending on how the draft order actually ends up breaking down and who comes out, he could be a top 5 pick.
What about pick number 8, though, the Dolphins, Harold Landry?
Landry could have gone out last year, and he could have been a first-round pick in last year's loaded edge rusher class. Now, he's not going to be quite as productive as he was last year. That's the nature of getting more attention. He's a very talented player. The Dolphins did take Charles Harrison in the most recent NFL draft. They need more youth at defensive end. They're very, very old there. They have Cameron Wake. They have Andre Branch. These guys are not young players. A Landry-Harris tandem at defensive end, I think, is a key one, and I think it would give them talent going forward. I thought about going secondary as well here, but I lean toward edge instead. I think it's a toss-up there as of right now, and again, folks, it's going to change come free agency. If the Dolphins throw money at another end, or if they lose a key guy in the secondary via trade or whatever, things will change.
Pick number 9, then, Christian Wilkins, defensive lineman from Clemson. I've heard a lot of good things about this Clemson defense. Tell me why the Ravens would be good picking this guy.
Well, Wilkins is an incredibly talented player. This is partially value. I don't know if he's actually going to last this long come the actual draft. I think he's the best defensive tackle prospect in this year's class. He is very much a Jonathan Allen type player. He can be a 3-4 defensive end. He can be a 4-3 defensive tackle. He has that type of game-breaking ability. He'd be a 3-4 defensive end for the Ravens. He'd be a big boost to that front 7. He can rush the passer from that 3-4 DE spot. I like Christian a lot. I think he has a bunch of upside. I think he's going to be a top 15 pick if he comes out. He has that ability.
Pick number 10, Josh Allen, quarterback. I mean, Carson Palmer's there. He's looked a little bit old, but, I mean, you really think they're going to go with the quarterback top 10?
Carson Palmer's aging, and Josh Allen, I am not as high on him as others are, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if we get some comments here about, wow, Josh Allen, top 10. He has not been very good for Wyoming this year. He hasn't been very accurate. He struggled with turnovers, and against the best teams, he's wilted, and that's not a good sign. The flip side is he's big, he's tall, he's got a big arm, he can move, he checks off all the boxes in terms of skill set. This is a type of team or player that teams will talk themselves into because they'll see all the upside that he has, that he can make every throw. He's mobile. He's got a cannon for an arm. He has maybe the strongest arm in this year's draft class. He has all the upside, but he's also incredibly raw. But this is the type of quarterback teams will go, no. Give him to me. I can make him great. And we often see that not end up being the case. And this is a classic Bruce Arians quarterback. Big, tall, strong arm.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Seahawks, offensive guard, which they desperately need. So
Look,
tell me,
knowing Seattle, they could very well go, no, we don't need an offensive guard. We're going to go take a cornerback or something. Like, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But Nelson, I think, is the best offensive lineman on the Notre Dame offensive line right now. And he's better than Mike McGlinchey. I know he's a guard. Guards don't go as high. But I think if you're Seattle, you need a guy that can step in and start right now on your offensive line. Nelson is that guy. I think he's a Zach Martin caliber guard down the road. I don't think he can play tackle kind of like Martin can. But I think Nelson is going to be a day one starter for an NFL team. I don't love investing a ton of capital in guards, but I think for the Seahawks, it just makes sense to do that.
No, and I hear you. One of my favorite players in the draft is Fitzpatrick for Alabama going to the Browns. This guy can play multiple positions. He's very versatile, and I think he's the best player on that Alabama team. Tell me why you think he's going to last till 12.
It was just kind of the nature of how the draft breaks down. I think he can play secondary. I didn't put any spot in secondary. Corner or safety. In this case, I think he'd be a corner for the Browns. I like Fitzpatrick a lot. I'm kind of, look, if you want to say he's going to be top 5, I'd be like, okay, sure. There are always going to be guys that slide. I mean, look how far Malik Hooker slid this year.
No, I mean, it's very true. I mean, every draft is super different, obviously.
So I think the Alabama players kind of can get a bit of a bum rap. They almost always seem to have shoulder issues for whatever reason. All the Alabama guys have shoulder issues. But Fitzpatrick has the ability. I think he'd be a great replacement for Joe Hayden. The Browns need a number 1 corner. I think that Patrick can be that guy. He can also go play safety, too, if needed. Either way, I think that fills a need for Cleveland.
Next guy is quarterback Lamar Jackson. I mean, if there's one guy who loves getting the lotion and the tissues out, it's definitely Harris for Lamar Jackson. So tell me why pick 13 for the Jaguars.
So for anyone that tells you that Lamar Jackson has to move to receiver, I actually don't believe that. He's been much more accurate this year, which is a huge thing for me. I have a rule that if you don't complete 60% of your passes, that's a huge red flag. Because in today's world of college football, where there's so many easy passes, you got to complete 60%. Josh Allen, by the way, is not at that mark. Lamar Jackson, I wish he was just more accurate. Like if he were consistently completing 65% of his passes or whatever and not overthrowing guys all the time, he might be the best quarterback in this year's class. But he misses guys consistently. With that said, he has the arm strength, which you love to see, and he's so incredibly mobile. He is very much kind of like we talk about how Bell and David Johnson are halfbacks and receivers. Jackson kind of is the quarterback and halfback type deal, which I think is an underrated quality. If he can stay accurate and if he can bulk up a little bit, he's a little thin. Jackson has the upside. The accuracy really concerns me, but he's the type of mobile quarterback that I am willing to take a risk on. Someone will take a chance on him in the NFL draft, and why not Jacksonville, who needs a quarterback really badly? I think a Fournette and Jackson combo would be perfect.
Yeah, it'd definitely be pretty deadly, especially on the offensive side, which we have not really seen from the Jaguars this year, the last few years. Pick number 14, Bradley Chubb, defensive end from the Cowboys. We were just talking about the Cowboys on our Cowboys report show, which you guys should definitely check out. They still need pass rush.
I got some grief in the studio beforehand about this pick, but remember, folks, Tank Lawrence has been great. The rest of the pass rush, not so much.
Ugly.
Tank Lawrence also a free agent. So maybe Cowboys want to bring him back, but he's going to be very expensive. Maybe they can end up getting him. If they lose him, all of a sudden you're down to Benson Mayowa, who's a backup. He's not a starter. Taco Charlton's looked pretty slow to start. I think he's going to be more of a maybe a guy you try and kick inside. We'll see how David Irving looks coming back from his suspension. We saw the Tank Lawrence last year didn't look very good coming back from his suspension. I don't trust Demontre Moore going forward. Charles Tapper can't get on the field. So the Cowboys, you're going to see them continue to throw draft picks at their quarterback problem, or at their defensive end problem. And Bradley Chubb is a guy I think is going to be a top 20 pick. He's got plenty of upside. We see a couple spots each year rise as the draft goes on. Quarterback and edge rusher, occasionally offensive line. But quarterback, edge always go up. Chubb and these other guys could go higher.
No, and I totally agree. I see what you did there. Sun rises in the east, sets in the west, and just like that, the Jets quarterback. Tell me what's going on.
I think this is overall a little early for Mason Rudolph, but I think of the top quarterbacks are off the board right now. I think you could end up seeing 5 in the end. There's a lot of upside with these QBs. Mason doesn't have the arm strength that kind of comes and goes. He can throw it deep downfield, but the out routes, and that's what I mean. When I say arm strength, I'm not talking about throwing the ball 70 yards downfield. I'm talking about getting it there in a hurry on that out route, because otherwise, corner's going to jump that route and it's a pick 6. So the arm strength tends to wane with Rudolph, but he's been super productive this year for Oklahoma State. He's a big play guy. I think at the Jets, they know it's not Hackenberg. If it was Hackenberg, he would have been playing already. He's not the answer. I know Bryce Petty's not the answer. He's not any good. So I think if the Jets end up picking 15, which I don't think they will, but this is how the draft order sits right now, so don't at me in the comment section, folks. At me on Twitter instead. But Mason gives them a big play quarterback guy. I don't love it, but I think the Jets, they're going to target QB this year, especially if they end up picking in the top 10.
Pick 16 then is the Saints. The Saints have been pretty bad this year on defense. Have been pretty bad on defense probably the last 10 years. So you think they're going to go defensive end?
They neglected it this year and didn't understand why. They took Trey Henderson and Al-Quaid Muhammad, 2 late-round picks. They didn't take care of it in the free agency. They neglected the spot. Sam Hubbard is a guy that I'm personally very high on because of his upside. He's still very much developing. He packed on a bunch of weight coming out of high school. He's still growing as a player. I'm high on him. It might be a bit early, but after Chubb, as of right now, the edge class kind of wanes a little bit. It's not as good as we've seen last year and in some other years. The Saints, by the way, could also be a dark horse quarterback team because Drew Brees is in the last year of his contract. There's no one behind him.
No, you definitely got a point there. And then we're going to go to pick 17 here for the Raiders, Malik Jefferson, linebacker.
Jefferson has finally started to become the player we all thought he could be coming into Texas. In the new scheme, he's been unleashed a little bit more. He's making plays behind the line of scrimmage and not just kind of 10 yards downfield. Jefferson is now being that guy to make big plays. I like what I've seen out of him. He's got the upside. Oakland, don't be like the Giants. Invest some real draft capital in your linebacking core.
No, the Giants definitely have very, very weak linebackers. So do the Patriots. Pick number 18 is Vikings, Travaris McFadden.
Look, I think Trey Waynes is kind of in the bust territory. McFadden is the best cornerback left on the board. He could easily go top 15 and was kind of a down cornerback class. I think it makes sense as a tandem there.
Pick 19 then to the Redskins, Christian Kirk.
So Kirk is not my highest rated receiver this year. It's another guy who we'll get to later on in the show, at least as things stand right now. But my guy is Cortland Sutton, who's a bigger receiver, but kind of fits in the Josh Dotson, Terrell Pryor mold. So instead they look for their Deshaun Jackson replacement. That's what Christian Kirk can be. The dude can fly. He's a playmaker. He'd be a good fit in Washington.
Pick 20 is Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle.
I'm worried he might be destined for a right tackle role, which might not be the best fit in Tampa because I don't think Donovan Smith is the answer right now. DeMar Dotson's fine at right tackle. So McGlinchey, I think he might be destined for right tackle. He struggled at times with speed, but I think at 20, it's worth the risk.
At pick number 21 for the Titans, Jair Alexander.
Yeah. Another cornerback, Alexander, has battled some injuries, but he has the lockdown cover ability. He could rise or he could fall depending on what happens the rest of the season, like a lot of these guys. But Tennessee, look, they just got torched by Houston. They got to upgrade that pass defense, be it pass rusher or cornerback. Corner was the best guy left.
Linebacker, Jerome Baker, Patriots, 22.
Look, the Patriots clearly need more linebacker help because when Dante Hightower went out, they had nothing, and even with Dante, they still need another guy. I like Jerome Baker a lot. I think he's got the 3-down linebacker potential. He's a little bit versatile, too. I think he'd be a good fit in New England.
Trey Adams, 23 to the Rams.
Adams has kind of risen for me. Again, it's a pretty quality offensive tackle class. It's going to shake out as we go throughout the season here. Adams, I like Andrew Whitworth is still a very talented offensive tackle, but he's not going to be there forever. Adams can start at right tackle and then move over to left tackle here after Whitworth retires.
Pick 24 then, Tremaine Edmonds to the Steelers.
Edmonds has really impressed me this year. This is a guy who I didn't really have as a first-round pick entering the draft this year, but he's got 4.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks this year alone. And he's not a edge rusher. He's more of an inside linebacker. I think he and Shazier would be a really, really good 1-2 tandem. One concern, Edmonds bigger than you see out of most backers. He's 6'5".
Wow.
That's kind of big.
Pick 25, Darius Geis, running back, LSU.
Look, Geis, I think he'll be a first-round pick. Kind of depends on where the draft order ends up breaking down. I like Geis quite a bit, and hopefully the Eagles use him properly if they did take him, because they need a true every-down back. It's not Smallwood. He's not the answer there.
Pick 26 to the Lions is Maurice Hurst, defensive tackle, Michigan.
A local kid. I wasn't really sure what to do with Detroit. I think free agency is going to play a big role there, but I like Hurst. They need someone to pair with Ashawn Robinson as a defensive tackle. I think Hurst can be that guy. Hasn't been super impactful this year at defensive tackle for Michigan, but he's been drawing quite a bit of attention.
Martinez Rankin, offensive tackle, Mississippi State.
Hey, more offensive tackles here. Rankin can play. I think he's going to rise as we go along. By the way, folks, Matt Khalil is not the answer. Panthers were dumb to think that he was.
Vita V, 28.
Hey, run stuffer. DeMonte Pecco's not going to be there forever. I think that with Vay, I think he can be that true run stuffer and truly clog the lane and everything else that you want there. I think he'd be a good fit on that Broncos front three.
29 is Cortland Sutton, wide receiver, SMU.
I love Cortland Sutton. Let me explain why the Packers here. Because you think, Packers are the only receivers. Devonta Adams is a free agent. Packers have guys like James Jones, and they've let James Jones, Greg Jennings leave. Jordy Nelson is aging a little bit. The depth is kind of iffy unless you believe in some of their pieces right now. Geronimo Allison. I don't really think that. Sutton, this is great value for him here. I think he could go way lower than this. The scouts love his big size. Only 20 catches here, but 7 have gone for TDs.
Wow.
Yeah, go figure, right?
Calvin Ridley, 30 to the Bills.
He's older than you'd think. He's going to be 24 once he starts playing in the NFL, but he gives them a true number 1 option.
31, Marcus Allen, Penn State.
I think Allen and Keanu Neal would be a fantastic 1-2 punch.
No, totally agree. And then Dorius Armstrong, defensive end.
Hasn't been as good as he was last year, which is disappointing for me, but he had 20 tackles for loss and 10 sacks last year. That's damn impressive.
That's really good.
Yeah. All right, folks, once again, today's show is brought to you by the Draft app. Head over to draft.com/chatsports. When you sign up, you'll get a free $3 entry into a draft. How awesome is that?
Man, I love free money.
I know you do.
I could use that money to pay for my parking. That'd be great.
All right, folks, again, that's draft.com/chatsports. And these drafts takes minutes to complete. It's a 5-minute draft, if that. Anytime you want. It's so simple.
Oh, so simple, so easy. Man, we did a draft. Took a few minutes. You guys should do one too. Try it out. Chat Sports.
Let's talk waiver wire quickly, then we'll get to some fantasy rumors as well. First up, Latavius Murray. Is he your top ad this week?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you have Dalvin Cook, he's probably going to get to work. I'm not crazy about the talent standpoint from Murray, but he should get a lot of work, and that's what we're looking for right now in today's fantasy football NFL world. So go pick up Murray.
How about Aaron Jones? The Packers halfbacks are banged up right now.
Yeah, they are banged up, and Montgomery does have sickle cell, so let's not forget that. But Aaron Jones looked pretty good, 12 carries, 49 yards, and a touchdown. If I can get a running back in an Aaron Rodgers-led offense, that's definitely something that I want.
All right, is Deshaun Watson up first here? Is he a must-add? I'm looking at a guy like me, I got Carson Palmer. I'm like, can I afford not to add Deshaun Watson if I can snag him?
I mean, if you got Carson Palmer, I would drop Carson Palmer for Deshaun Watson. Dude's been really good, and now people don't realize when you add a guy like Will Fuller, yeah, he might not get a lot of points from a fantasy standpoint, but he's going to stretch out that field, open things up, and we saw it this week with the Texans. Drop 57. I don't think they're going to do that every week, but get Watson. He can run. He's looked really good.
All right, fantasy rumor time here for our last 5 minutes or so in the show. Doug Martin, is he going to be the featured back on Thursday?
I think he is, and I would definitely encourage you to read my article that I just wrote out about him, about Martin, but guy's been really good. He's had 5 seasons, 3 years under 400 yards, and then 2 years over 1,400 yards. So when he's motivated, he's a stud. He looks motivated, really good shape. Martin's going to roll.
All right, how about some Derek Carr? He is hurt right now. He has the back fracture, the same injury as Romo. It's going to impact the entire Oakland offense. What does it mean for Marshawn Lynch? Is it time to drop him?
Drop Carr, I don't know. Drop Lynch.
Drop Lynch.
Maybe. I mean, they're both kind of like coin flips to me. And right now, though, I don't really want any part of this Raiders offense. I mean, it does not look good either way. So, I mean, Derek Carr's banged up, quarterback's super deep. But, I mean, honestly, Marshawn Lynch right now is the RB 41. He's only had 30 yards the last 2 weeks combined. He scored 1.2 last week. I mean, he's just not a guy that I'm really going crazy about.
And then Lynch again one more time. We'll get up that card here as well. Do you try and trade Lynch on name brand?
Yeah, I mean, if you can sell him, maybe trade him as beast mode, not Marshawn Lynch. Maybe you get more value for that, but not crazy about him.
We talked Aaron Jones. We'll skip ahead to the Jets here because we mentioned Deshaun Watson and Latavius Murray. Bilal Powell, should the Jets feature him going forward?
They should feature him. I mean, he's the best running back on that team. They're 3-0 when he gets 20 or more carries, and even in those games, he averages over 5 yards per carry. The dude is really good. Like, give him the ball, Jets. He's your best playmaker on offense.
I'll throw this out. I think I know he's getting under 50% of the snaps. He is not going to be a long-term part for them because he, believe it or not, is going to turn 29 this year.
He's an older guy out of Louisville.
Which is weird because you don't think of Bilal Powell as an old dude.
And that's what I mean. He always gets hit with this scat back. Like, the guy can run between tackles. He's the best player on the Jets offense. Give him the ball.
Mm-hmm. All right. How worried should we be about Jay Ajayi right now? Because he hasn't been very good.
My panic meter is
killed me last week.
Really high on him. And he's been inconsistent throughout his entire – I mean, if you take away his 200-yard games, like, he's been really inconsistent.
He's been RB3 at most.
He's been averaging under 4 yards per carry, so yeah. I don't know. It scares me.
One more fantasy rumor here. Tom Brady is on pace to break the passing yard mark of Peyton Manning over almost 5,500 yards. Will he do it?
No, man.
You say no.
I don't think it is. I think one of the reasons why he's been throwing so much is the Patriots' defense has been so bad. I think they kind of figure it out at least, man. I would imagine they would, but no, I don't think he does. I mean, records like that are so tough to break, so he'll come back down to earth a little bit, but it's been encouraging to see him just put up some numbers.
All right, let me get to some comments here a little bit. I also want to get to one weigh-in as well, if we can get to that, about Deshaun Watson, who we talked about earlier in the show. He's put up great numbers the past few weeks. Can he be and will he be a top 10 quarterback the rest of the season? And in the end, do you believe in Deshaun Watson? Do you trust him?
Do I believe in Deshaun Watson? Yes. Do I trust Deshaun Watson? Yes. Do I think he'll be a top 10 quarterback? No. I don't. The quarterback position's really deep. Yeah, he's been pretty good, but he's also had kind of easy matchups the last few weeks. I mean, the Patriots apparently are the worst defense in the NFL, and yeah, the Titans just did not show up last week, and they gave up career passing yards to Russell Wilson. So do I think he'll be top 10? No, I do not, but he's definitely a guy I want on my team.
I think the bright side is that even if in a lot of leagues Watson is available, especially in some of these smaller non-dynasty formats, that allows you to play matchups with him.
No, and I totally agree. I mean, he's a guy, he can run, and if he's getting rushing touchdowns, he leads right now all quarterbacks in rushing yards, which is obviously very valuable for fantasy football, so good value there.
All right, quick comment here coming in. Ask, why would the Ravens pick up a defensive lineman when they're already deep? First off, Amon, I got to do it. All right, I am a bit of a grammar Nazi here. It's there, wrong there, T-H-E-R-E. All right, or sorry, T-H-E-Y''R-E. I got it wrong too. Brutal for me. Look, they do have some depth on the defensive line. I like Michael Pierce. I like Brandon Williams. Getting a third go-to piece after they traded away Timmy Jernigan would be huge for them. Brett Urban's been banged up. I don't know if I fully trust guys like Carl Davis and Willie Henry. Bronson Kafusi has also been banged up as well a little bit throughout his career. So they do have some depth, but I think Wilkins was the best guy on the board there. And I think that they can use some more impact defensive players overall.
I mean, the guy was 12th in the world for a reason, people. You should probably listen to him.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
I got you, buddy.
One more here says, Ian Harrison says he thinks Barkley's going to be the best player in the draft. I saw a lot of comments earlier in the show. Barkley got the most votes.
I'll tell you what, Barkley is really good, and we're going to see NFL teams start taking running backs in because it's been working. I mean, they've looked really good at all the running backs taken early. So I agree with you, buddy. Barkley's the real deal.
One more here, and then we'll sign off and then loop everything that you guys missed earlier in the show. Richard Allen Harris says the Browns needed a relocation and a rebrand. They won't accomplish anything otherwise.
I definitely need a new logo, and I don't know, the Browns, I mean, that's... Richard, I agree with you, buddy. It's an ugly situation.
They can stay in Cleveland. It's not the relocation. A rebrand, sure. But
what's good in Cleveland?
Changing the city's not going to change anything. All right, folks. I'm Tom Downey. Mitchell Renz alongside me. Big shout out to producer Lena Bond behind the scenes, making it all look pretty. If you missed any of our fantasy talk or you want to see the mock draft one more time, well, we will play it a few more times, and there will be a mock draft article coming out on the Chat Sports app probably tomorrow once I finish it up tonight. Chatsports.com/app. Get the app. That will do it for us today. A big thank you to our sponsor, Draft. Head to draft.com/chatsports. You guys stay classy out there.